Thank you for joining us today on this webcast. I'm Nelson Jaffrey, Head of Design at Birla Cellulose, and welcome to the third episode of our Web Creation Around. And today, I'm extremely delighted to have with me the creative, talented, and influential designer Nachiket Barve. Based out of Mumbai, Nachiket Barve is an award winning fashion and costume designer. He is an alumnus of the prestigious National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad. He was awarded a scholarship by the French government to study at ENSAD Paris. Nachiket has worked with the LVMH group during his stint in Paris. He has been awarded the Young Entrepreneur Award by the British Council as well as the Woolmark Prize. His eponymous label is showcased at fashion weeks in India and across the world. His label is worn by celebrities such as Amitabh Bachchan, Aishwarya Rai Bachchan, Janhvi Kapoor, Sonam Kapoor, and others. Nachiket also has been awarded the State Award and other prominent costume design awards for his work in films. He designed the costumes for this year's blockbuster period drama, Tanaji the Unsung Warrior. He is a passionate wildlife enthusiast and photographer, connoisseur of Indian arts as well as a chef in his personal life. Well, Nachiket, welcome to this webcast and thank you for joining us today.
Hi, good to be here. I'm so glad to be a part of this forum today.
So, Nachiket, are we ready to go?
Yeah, let's start. Come on.
Yeah. Let's begin with, what has been the impact of COVID-19 on the fashion industry?
Frankly, like everybody else has been saying in the world, like a situation like this is something which is all of us are experiencing it for the first time in our lives, So I think it's still early to completely gauge the impact of what this pandemic has unleashed on the fashion industry. We're still in the midst of it. I think we've only come to, some part in the process of fully comprehending what this means from a demand point of view, from a production point of view, from a resource point of view, from the broken down supply chains to understanding consumer behavior post this, once things start to settle down a bit. I think unlike the West, especially in the States and Europe, where people are sort of now there seems to be a little bit of a quietening of the situation and things kind of normalizing a little bit, especially in Europe. I think India, we are still seeing, yesterday was the highest single day spike that we saw in terms of number of cases, So I think only in the next month will we be able to fully gauge what the situation looks like and then be able to gauge impact.
True. And what has been the most challenging thing for you during this lockdown? Did you have any learnings as well?
I think it's really surreal. It feels something like in an apocalyptic film because we sort of on the pre-lockdown. In fact, I had a really bad feeling about this, and whoever from our team of artisans, karigars is not from Mumbai. I insisted that they go back and reach their families safely before they shut down because I had a premonition that they would sort of they would have to lock down the transport. So everybody who wanted to go home, and I said that's better for their safety. We all send the whole team back to their place of origin or their hometowns. So they are safe, and it's been over 2 months or 2 months to the day today actually when we've locked the office and I've not been there. So I'm missing all of that. I'm missing the process of interacting with the team because I don't know how it works for everybody. For me, the whole process of creation is very very dynamic. It's very interactive. I like to think of something, sketch it out the old-fashioned way on pen and paper, go to my embroiderers, sit with them, see how it looks, and my ideas get shaped along the way. It's not something that I sit on the computer and the whole thing is drawn out and then sent into production. In fact, I remember when I was interning with Celine in Paris years ago, and they had an atelier in the building in Paris where we were working, and they had their production factories in Italy. So every time you had to send a sketch, it would get emailed to Italy, and then they would send, and that whole process would take, maybe a week or 10 days, And for us, the luxury of having your own sampling workshop, where you can sort of translate an idea immediately into product is so fantastic, and I'm really missing all of that. I think learning wise, I think it's been like a little bit of a yo-yo. So there have been the first few days of just understanding the severity of this, and every day the news has been changing. So that's been a cause for anxiety. I've also been busy at home with the baby, so that's been like a blessing to have all this time with her. But you're dealing with so many different conflicting emotions, and I think nobody seems to know the answer. So at best, we can just try and comprehend and try and forecast as best as what the world will look like post this.
Also, most fashion weeks were cancelled. Did this affect you in any way? Were you going to be participating at any fashion weeks?
We had not scheduled any international trade shows for this season, so we were okay. But I think the same ripple effect is going to be seen even in India. So I don't know whether there'll be a digital fashion week, whether we'll be able to look at a fashion week, where we just upload lookbooks. How do we shoot them? How do people consume it? Also another big, any kind of an event. So even like the kind of exhibitions we do, which are, B2C, like a design one or, any of those across the traveling trunk shows across the country. I think those will have to be re-evaluated as well.
And, I know you mentioned it, but without these fashion shows being there, do you see any other ways of promotion of your collection? Fashion shows have the glamour, the glitz, and the whole drama, around it. So, without that, I mean, how does a designer promote his collection in the coming times? Any thoughts?
I think, see, the world we are looking at pre-pandemic and what we are looking at now is entirely different. I think, a lot of us have the privilege and the good fortune to be, ensconced in our homes, as bored as people might get or whatever, and to a large extent be safeguarded from the virus itself. But for people who are, really facing the brunt of it, whether it's a family member being ill or those who had to, as we've seen every day in media, trek back for hundreds of kilometers back to where they are from, it's going to be a large change of thought processes. It's going to be different kind of expectations. So Fashion Week is a very small aspect of this whole chain is what I feel. I think today customers are pretty clear on what they want, which designer they want to shop for. So, and I think social media is also a great channel to reach out to people, who sort of tap into your brand aesthetic. And I think we'll see a lot more things happen virtually than necessarily physically, till at least we have a better sense of whether a vaccine is developed.
Okay, great. Also, the Fashion Design Council of India has established a COVID-19 support fund for young designers and small businesses. Do you want to share any thoughts on those?
I think it's a wonderful initiative because I think just for people to be able to, industry leaders and people in places of, strength and ability because I think among the worst hit in this whole scenario have been very, very young labels, those who have got no cash reserves or, who sort of depend on season to season for their entire working capital, those who, and also a lot of stores, work with young designers on consignment. So till they sell anything, there is no cash flow coming back. So those businesses have been hit. So I think it's a wonderful initiative to support them because I remember reading an article somewhere saying a whole generation of young designers would be wiped out without support. So I think it's a wonderful initiative.
Yeah, definitely. Also, due to this sudden lockdown imposition, most of the current season's clothing would not have been sold yet. Do you think the same collection could be reoffered to customers post-lockdown, or is it necessary to introduce a new collection for a new season?
I've been the biggest champion of seasonless clothing for the longest time. Maybe, I come from a family of doctors. Both my parents took their degrees by taking various scholarships because they just didn't have the money. So, I think this whole culture of consumption, which is thoughtless, consumption, which is artificial, had to slow down. So, coronavirus, I don't think really broke the fashion system as much as it sort of accelerated what already was broken for a while. So the clothes that I make under my label have always been seasonless, timeless. Clothes from my first collection all those years ago or a decade ago still get ordered and worn. So for me, it's not so much about clothes getting obsolete as per season, but I think that's the direction the industry should be going in. Now, when we talk about whether that clothing can be offered or not offered, in India, there are only, up in the north is where you really have a severe winter or you have those things. Whether when you talk of a city like Mumbai or most of South India, we really have a namesake winter. So those clothes don't necessarily become obsolete. I think a lot will depend on the psyche of the retailers as well as the psyche of the designers, whether they feel that they can hold on to that clothing, whether they feel like, or it will be like a panic offloading kind of stock. And I hope it is not that because Indian designers really do make beautiful timeless clothes that work for the Indian audience. The other important thing here also is, it might be easy to go on sale and people just selling off everything, but it'll take a while for production supply chains to be set up again, So Suppose you put all of this on sale and you don't have access to karigars, and nothing is being produced immediately for say July drops or August drops, then you will have a glut in like a gap in your production schedule. So that's something which will need to be answered as well.
I agree with you completely on the seasonless bit. I think it's time to go seasonless now, and it's glad that you have always, your collections and clothing have been seasonless. Also, Nachiket, for the past 2 months, most of us have been, living out of our pajamas, and there have been hashtag stay home style, hashtag above the keyboard dressing, lounge, etc.
Right.
What kind of new trends do you see emerging, post this COVID?
See, again, like I said, it's hypothetical because we don't know how long it's going to last. But for the foreseeable 3 months or so, I think we are going nowhere. So those who have the option of working at home will continue to do so. Those I can't sit at home and be interacting with my karigars, so I'll have to go back to office at some point. But in terms of trends, what you will see is I think an overall relaxation of style, because I think these 2 or 3 months that everybody has been at home, I think this whole idea of perfection being a myth has been exposed a lot more. People who thought they couldn't do without a salon treatment or like the highest heels or whatever have just realized that hey, it's not so bad to DIY or relax a little bit in your dressing. So that might continue to be seen. But I think when you talk of category as a stay at home, I'm not sure whether that really becomes relevant, because we've seen a lot of athleisure in the last few months. The last 2 seasons, we've seen a lot of, blurring the line between, say, the gym look and airport look and, people traveling all the time. So that formality may disappear, but it will be replaced by something which is, I think, midpoint between very formal and absolutely like slacker style, lounging in the PJs on the couch.
Yeah, I'm sure. Also, it seems people have been online a lot in these times, and surely they would have become more techno savvy. Does this mean the fashion industry has to focus on the online and virtual front more than before now?
I think 100%, because I think, there will be reluctance, at least in the first few months, to really go out as, and try and sort of be as contactless with your shopping as possible. So, if you have the option of the clothes arriving home, or you have, anybody who I've been speaking to, we've all been ordering our stuff online as far as possible. Online deliveries have just opened up. So, but then you want to avoid as much contact. So I think even in fashion, the idea of the clothes being sanitized, them arriving safely without you having to step out, wait in queues, negotiate the crowds at a mall or whatever, I think that will be a significant option that people will want to. At the same time, I'm going to come back to your earlier question as well, saying, post-lockdown, what happens? I think we also forget the fact that, clothes are not just how you look, it's also how clothes make you feel, even I have been sort of, cleaning the house and doing the gardening and, doing whatever it takes at home in t-shirts. But just for the webinar to put on a nice shirt and, dress up a little bit, it changes your mood, it changes how you feel, it changes how you think. And I think people will want that as well. Not everybody wants to, be sitting on the couch, in sweatpants and a pajama, all day. So
yeah, people definitely want to get out of boring clothes, and I think some people might be wanting to do that. Moving on, we have heard, most designers speaking about handmade in India, hashtag vocal for local, self-reliance. What are your thoughts on, mindful consumption and supporting the homegrown?
I think it's wonderful, and we've always been champions of this. And I think the whole idea when we talk about sustainability, there's been a lot of greenwashing also from just saying, because it's a shapeless jute frock means it's sustainable. Not necessarily. I think when you talk of sustainable, there's a lot, whether it's the kind of fabric you're looking at. Also sustainability for me, is also the amount of wear you get per outfit. So if you have something and you really cherish it and, wear it for a long period of time, it does not end up in a landfill. As Indians, we've always been sustainable historically. I know of my grandmother would, have her saris, and then they would be made into quilts, and then the quilts were frayed, and then they would be used as rags. So till they literally become like dust again, they were used in some format or the other. And I think unlike the West, we still are a fairly sustainable society, So it's just about appreciating that. What I would like to see when you're talking about sustainability is, I'll tell you a small anecdote. About a decade ago, I was at Oxford Street in London. And I remember seeing a high street, a handbag, which was £2 or something, and I'm just thinking, sitting there saying, my God, with these rents and the kind of infrastructure and the marketing, how can a product cost so less? In the last 20 years, if everything has become expensive, how do you expect clothes to become cheaper and cheaper? So that cannot happen. So I mean, the idea is that then there's something wrong with the way the final person who's making your clothes has been paid, or the kind of so that's not sustainable at all. So I would rather people shop less, shop clothes with which have got meaning, which mean something, which are very highly high quality in terms of their manufacture, and which last you over the years. I think that will be the right way to be sustainable as well. And vocal for local, I think I think we have such a wealth of craft, we have such a wealth of techniques. We've got a large population which is still engaged in this to a larger sense. So it's really about buying that. I mean, you can't say if everybody has to be paid fairly, things will cost X amount of money. I mean, you can't pay peanuts and expect that you're going to indulge in social justice. That can't happen.
Yeah, I think that's rightly said. The uncertainty around the COVID-19 pandemic has, forced consumers to slow down and spend more time at home, leading to a prioritization of comfort in their dressing. And so what we put next to our skin becomes, very, very important. Nachiket, you have been familiar, and you have worked with Liva Fabrics also. Do you think it can be a preferred choice of fabric?
I think so, because I think when we're talking about the idea of it being natural, and at the same time the idea of comfort, I think has become so important. Comfort, even like wash care. The fact that a lot of your fabrics can be washed in the machine, or like all of those things will become important for customers, because you want things which you're going to be wearing for a long period of time, which have got longevity, which have got good handle and feel, and are easy to care for. So that becomes definitely a priority. And for designers as well, I mean, the whole idea of free flowing fabrics, stuff that you can really work with, which is easy, which is not stiff, I mean, all of those also become a bonus.
Correct. Do you see masks becoming a fashion statement after many celebrities have started endorsing it, such as and it becoming an important aspect of everyday dressing?
I think masks are going to become something which is absolutely non-negotiable. I mean, the minute we all are going to have to step out of the house, we will need a mask. Now, there's also been this trend of designer masks and very fancy looking masks, and I think somewhere it's good to. I mean, it's nice to have masks which are a little more fun and break the monotony of wearing just something which is really bland and boring. But I think consumers as well as designers should remember the fact that masks can be worn only for X amount of time, like 4 to 6 hours, and need to be disinfected and need to be washed and then need to be reworn. So as long as those criteria are sort of met and taken care of, and you're not just looking at a vanity mask with a logo or some embroidery or something like that, I think that's fine. I think masks are going to become something that all of us are going to have, and it'll be nice to wear something which is a similar color to your outfit, or coordinate it or contrast it or make it into a personal style statement, as opposed to just like a boring white surgical mask.
Also, Nachiket, do you think this influencing wedding fashion as well? I mean, as an accessory?
See, weddings, I mean, they have again just relaxed the rules that it's 50 people. And I think it'll be, for guests, yes, because, you would want to sort of be protected and, make sure everybody else around is. For the bride and groom, I think I'll be happy to see a few pictures where they are skipping just the mask, only for the bridal couple, because it'll be like, at the end of the 20 years later, who did I marry? You can't even see the face. But jokes apart. But I think masks are going to become mandatory, and we're just going to have to be a little more. But I think, somewhere we should not lose focus of the protective value of masks by trying to, make them cosmetically beautiful. Because, I mean, the whole idea, and I'm like, my parents have been going to hospitals every day, and the kind of mask that they are wearing, it has to not allow any air inside and stuff like that. I think those are more important. So if you are able to produce a mask like that, like, don't sacrifice safety for vanity. I think that's important to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think, again, very well said on the mask. We recently conducted a study, and most consumers are inclined towards need-based shopping only for occasions. So what impact do you think this could have on the industry? Do you think we will see a shift from traditional spring, summer and autumn, winter seasonality?
Frankly, I think for most of India, it's high time we let go of the autumn, winter, spring, summer, which was set 150 years ago by somebody in Europe. I think it's about time. But that apart, I think when we look at need-based, I think in the next month or 2 months, once we open, especially like Mumbai, where we're really badly hit, I think it'll take a while to gauge how people are responding, because I mean, I think everybody will want to come out and see. Also, as Indians, we are very resilient. We like to bounce back. We are optimistic by nature, so we want to come back and feel as normal as possible in the new normal. So I think people will want to shop. Those who have an occasion, which, because weddings are going to be small scale, or it'll take a while before parties can happen, or you can meet people over dinner or stuff like that. They will look for those things, but it'll be like, I think, mood elevating kind of clothing, because you don't want to just go and buy something just for the heck of it. But I think, as far as your question about shifting of the seasons to a more festive and maybe like a casual and stuff like that, I think it's high time clothing became category specific rather than trend specific. So where people are able to look at something which is based on shifting needs rather than just something which is forced by seasonal obsolescence of clothing.
Correct. Also, I think you already answered this question, but while glamour is not a word that springs to our mind when imagining a post-pandemic world, but creativity definitely is. There are going to be a lot of social distancing measures which are going to stay, for a while, and also a lot has been made of this. And what about dressing up? You think there are going to be fewer occasions to dress up? Will there be any scope for dressing up now?
Unfortunately, as much as it sounds ominous, but I think there will be fewer reasons to dress up, because you'll think, I think at least the next, we can only take it by month or quarter by quarter. See, if there is a vaccine developed sooner, then of course things will change and people will go back. We're also looking for cues from what's happening across the world. So in the next few weeks, we'll know how Europe is opened up and how other countries have opened up, how those customers are reacting. So we don't know as yet. But if we talk about, like say weddings, just the fact that people used to have maybe 3 or 4 functions for a wedding and you needed all those clothes. And now it's 50 people, one occasion, your shopping habits change too. Similarly you can't go out to a restaurant as often, or you can't go out clubbing, or you can't go out, just have a dinner party as frequently. So needs will change, but then people also will want fashion. For me, fashion has always been a tool to spark joy, and add joy to people's lives. And people will still look for that. So they will find their own ways. Maybe it'll be something you wear which is which is classic, comfortable, but beautiful to wear to work from home or wear to office to step back again. But I think people will shop. It's just that it'll be a little more conservative. But once people feel safer, they will 100%.
Correct. Nachiket, there's been a lot of education about the impact of fashion on the environment, and a lot of influencers have been promoting reduce, reuse, upcycle, this culture. Do you see this influencing fashion post-COVID-19 and consumers willing to adopt these practices? And will the post-COVID world see the end of fast fashion?
Now this has a tricky answer, because there's a situation I'd like to see, and then there is a situation which might arise, So for me, like I said, the shirt I'm wearing has been like 4 or 5 years old. I've made it in my own office, and it's a classic black shirt. It never lets me down. I keep wearing it season after season or whatever. And like I said, to quote the example of my grandmother, we've always been the sort who had, a mindset to mend, to, like something like darning, or if there's a hole, you fill something, or you add a piece of embroidery. So we've had that relationship with clothes for a while. So people will look at maybe reusing, mending, even at a fashion point of view. And also, we have easy access to, or we've had easy access to tailors and stuff like that. So sometimes, clients will say, no, I'll get it altered myself, or, because they have those access to those resources, unlike the West, where you have to pay maybe £100 to alter a hem or something like that. So we've had that kind of a personalized relationship with clothing for a while. As far as fast fashion goes, I think, as much as I would want, I think there is nothing fundamentally wrong with, fashion at high street prices, because I think fashion must be democratic, style should be democratic, and not everybody can afford to pay thousands for a garment, no matter how beautifully it is made or handmade or whatever. And it's good to have garments which are more accessible for everybody, because it's a must. But what has been problematic is this rampant and wanton, overproduction and artificial obsolescence of clothes. So to produce so much, and then that sort of funding the unsold inventory, and there's been something really wrong with that system. And even if we have the whole idea of people buying, say, local press brands or local high street stuff, they have an option of wearing those clothes, planning wardrobes nicely. Even simple things like I remember growing up, if you got a stain on a t-shirt, you could send it to the dyer and it'll come back dyed in a different color. I mean, I think it's stuff like that consumers may need to think, rather than, hey, there's a small spot, you need to discard this. Those kind of changes will affect fast fashion per se. Is not going to go anywhere, because also when we look at the economy shrinking in this pandemic, people's incomes being at at a dangerous point, and a lot of people losing jobs or getting salary cuts, and in general the consumer sentiment, it's not like people are going to go and splurge thousands and lakhs on clothes immediately. So fast fashion won't go away. I just wish there is a middle ground where fast fashion is a little more responsible and people buy, because see, every time you buy something, you're making a choice with your wallet. It's not something, it's a political kind of a step, where you say you support this or you support that, or you choose this or you don't choose this. I think it's also important people give dignity to everything they buy. I think everything. I think even when you look at the whole idea of, say, food, for example, we've always been always had this culture of no wasting food on the plate or no wasting anything at home, because my mother used to tell me, saying, hey, this rice has been grown by one farmer and the mustards come from somewhere and the dals come from somewhere, and all of these people have worked to create this, so you cannot throw it away. The same thing goes for clothes. I mean, right from your fiber manufacturer to fabric to weaving, printing, dyeing, there's so many people involved, so many processes, so many resources, that if people are more mindful about how they consume fashion, fast fashion won't be a bad thing after all.
Right. Nachiket, you have left no stone unturned as you turned costume designer for the historical drama Tanaji. Were there any other films in the pipeline that got affected due to this sudden arise of COVID-19 and the lockdowns?
We were very lucky that Tanaji came out in January, because it was really like a 3D spectacle, and that's not the kind of movie you want to watch, on TV at home or on your laptop or phone or whatever. So we were lucky in that aspect. In fact, we were supposed to start filming one film in mid-April and another one in August. So both have sort of been put on, hold for now, because we are waiting to see how soon we can. And in fact, unlike fashion, where you still can order it online, unfortunately, you can't shoot films online or can't dress the actor online, So it'll be a while before there are SOPs of how do you run a set, or, how do people congregate, how safe is it. I think they'll have their own answers. Like, I'm sure there's the best minds in the business thinking very hard to make this work. So as and when we come out, I think we'll have clarity on when those projects begin.
Also, a lot of our consumers have responded saying they are not willing to shop for the next 2-3 months. Will we see a huge discount wave, coming in to push out existing inventory that's in stock?
Again, there's a wishful point of view and an idealistic point of view. The wishful point of view would be that they're perfectly good clothes, they don't need to be dumped. I think, they've been made with a certain strategy in mind. Also, the pitfall of dumping clothes on sale and, is if they don't have supply chains, because the kind of migration that we are seeing currently of people who make our clothes going back to the villages or not being available or doing so it's not like the factories which produce clothes for high street. I mean, it's still a labor intensive job, and if they don't have the people available for producing the next lot, there's no point dumping these clothes on sale immediately. I think that's important. Secondly, as far as fashion goes as well, I think a lot of Indian designers do clothing which is kind of saleable through the year. I don't think you should just panic and throw out perfectly good merchandise just because it's been there pre-lockdown, because this put a pause on consumption for everybody across the world. At the same time, I do feel that when you have got businesses which are cash strapped for 2 months and have got these huge salaries to pay, rents to pay, overheads, expenses, it may be hard holding on to stock and waiting for it to sell full price, and there would be a tendency to dump it as well, which would and also people would want maybe discounts given the fragile economy. So I think there will be some discounting, but I hope the good stock is held on to and meets its correct customers at the correct price.
Nachiket, any new things that you have done in this lockdown that were not tried before? How do you keep yourself, up and motivated?
There are phases. I'll be honest. I don't want to pretend to be superhero. There are days when I'm super anxious about what's going to happen, and especially in the initial part, I think there was this phase that I was wondering, oh my God, what's happening, and are we going to be able to work like this, and blah blah blah. And then it's become accepted as a new normal thing. Hey, this is something we cannot control, and it's much bigger than any single one of us. So that's provided a little solace of a little bit of comfort in that sense. In terms of skills, I've been trying to maintain some kind of a routine working from home. Like for X amount, like say 11 to 2 I'll work and then take a lunch break like I would at office, and try and sort of put it into some sort of a schedule rather than the whole day just melt into nothingness. And as I've been enjoying cooking, I've been trying to read up stuff. I've been trying to look at interesting online presentations with designers, with retailers, trying to make sense how, because I think we all learn and benefit from shared knowledge at this point of time. I think none of us is alone in this. We all are together, and if anybody can, we can all learn from each other and come up to a solution which is better in the longer run, then it's time well used. But I'm not definitely in kind of a productivity rat race where I'm baking banana breads and doing dalgona coffees or anything else all day. No. Right.
Okay. With safety and healthcare being concerns, among consumers right now, will we see fabric innovations in designer wear, like use of any antibacterial fabrics? And do you think this will affect the fashion quotient in any way?
Fashion for too long. I mean, if you look at the kind of technology that has advanced in communications, or the fact that we are all communicating sitting in the comforts of our homes, or over the internet and stuff, I think clothes still are made in a pretty primitive way. I mean, it's not like much has changed really since the 50s or the 60s at a large scale garment level. I mean, probably my grandfather wore a shirt and a trouser and pair of shoes and socks and a belt, and even today, I mean, cosmetically yes, but fundamentally clothes have stayed the same. And maybe it's time we put this technology to good use, whether it is in terms of, say, making fabric which doesn't need to be dry cleaned, which is color fast if you wash it, which needs maybe fewer washes, which is antimicrobial, which is, or maybe kills bacteria or viruses when it sort of makes contact with the clothing. I think it's high time we sort of fabric manufacturers, including people like you, who look at this innovation at a really grassroots level rather than just talking of, whether we can sort of change the styling or add a yoke or throw on some embroidery. I mean, those are all important, but I think it's important. Clothing manufacturing really looks at a different, complete dimension, which is new, which is more functional, which will make it better, because I mean, nobody wants to, in this day and age today, wear a garment once for 2 hours and have to keep sending it for dry cleaning, or it's still a pretty primitive way of making clothes, is what I feel. Although, I mean, we do the same, but these are wishful thoughts.
Right. Also, have you rethought about any new framework different than how you used to operate in the past? And how do you and your team collaborate in this mode of lockdowns or self-isolations?
I've been speaking with my team on a regular basis, whether they're here or they're back in their hometowns or whatever, just to lift morale, to give them an update as to what's happening and stuff like that, because I think we're all in this together. But when we open, I think, because there's a lot of, one will have to really sort of rewire our brains for understanding that this pandemic is going nowhere. And whether it means sanitation in the office, how clothes are made, once they're handled, once they're ready, they get sort of fumigated and then they, get packed where they're almost sterile by the time they reach the shops, for example, or reach a customer. So stuff like that. It's going to be a lot of innovation at the physical way to deal with this in the most reasonable way without getting completely panic stricken. Because I mean, we all will have to go back to our physical workplaces at some point of time. We'll all have to engage with people at some point of time. We just have to be more careful and keep this in the back of our heads, for making that interaction as safe as possible for everybody involved.
Great. Okay. Nachiket, now we'll move on to some rapid fire questions. Don't worry, there won't be any questions from me though.
All right. Okay.
So the most unexpected thing that you tried during this lockdown?
The most unexpected thing, I think, diapering a baby.
Your most memorable moment during Tanaji?
I think most memorable moment, there were quite a few, because I mean, we had a wonderful crew, who were very, very accomplished. I mean, we had an action team from Germany. We had a whole lot of people. The director Omrat was superb. A great cast. I think for me, the most memorable moment was, having a vision for a character and seeing the actor appear in costume on set for the first time, where they felt transported to the era rather than it feel fake and inauthentic. I think they all individually, whether it's Ajay, Kajol, Saif, all of them independently sort of felt like, I put this on and I feel like I'm in the 1600s and not here today anymore, which I think was a wonderful moment.
Great. The one thing that you really liked about the lockdown.
I think, at some point, even without realizing, even I was in some kind of a rat race, whether you're just on this autopilot of getting up, rushing to office, rushing here, rushing there. And this quietening of the rhythm, whether it's personal or whether it's the city as a whole. I mean, I've never heard birds chirping all day outside my window or, stuff like that. So I think you just realize that, hey, maybe you can go a little slow, it can be a little quieter, and it's more meaningful than just being like a headless chicken everywhere all day. So that's been important.
Okay. Nachiket Barve, costume designer or fashion designer?
Fashion designer. I'll tell you why. Because costume, you are still a part of a giant wheel, and it's in reference to something or a situation that you respond. I think with fashion, you have the scope to create something which is completely unseen, new, entirely unexpected, and have people wear it on a daily basis. So that's nice. But actually, it's a 50-50 because costume, once it's there, you can see it for eternity, which has got a certain longevity, which is nice.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think Indian consumers would do post lockdown? Would they take to shopping immediately? They will do more of online shopping? Will they wait till the festive wedding season to buy more clothes? Or wait for this pandemic to end completely and then only venture out shopping?
I think, India is too large a group to put everybody into one pan. So I think we will see a mix of the first three options, I think, where people would, they're bored of sitting at home, so they will want to step out, especially in urban cities where we don't really have any spaces other than malls or, going out somewhere as a social activity. So people will want to sort of, step out.
Okay.
The other thing I think is also they will an online, yes, because I mean that gives you an option of being able to do it without the physical worry of going out. So a mix of those two.
What will be the impact in the seasonal cycles in fashion? Will they stay the same? Will we see longer season cycles or seasonless dressing with long-lasting wardrobes?
I would like to say seasonless dressing, but that won't happen because we have to churn the merchandise. So I hope to see longer seasons, and I hope to see more meaningful things. I mean, even at a festive level. I mean, I don't want to see people just buying some really bad quality fabric, and this whole culture which has come in the last couple of years, which I've absolutely abhorred. Which is, I think a lot of people have been sort of brainwashed into believing like a celebrity who cannot repeat an outfit or you cannot wear clothes again, which I think is complete rubbish. So I hope people end up having a more meaningful and a longer relationship with their clothes, where they enjoy them for a longer period of time than just this whole notion that I'll wear it once and I cannot repeat it. I think that has to go.
Okay. Also, what kind of trends do you think will pick up in the fashion industry? A more shift towards sustainability, fast fashion taking a backseat, virtual collection unveiling, or comfortable fashion for more of virtual meetings?
I think it's going to be a belpuri of all these four things, because it's going to be all of these four things in various measures. We'll see all of these. I think all four trends are really relevant.
Okay. Which character in Tanaji do you like to design for the most? Tanaji, Udaiban, or Savitri Bai?
I think Udaiban, because it was, Tanaji was lovely, but Udaiban really had a lot of scope to make him not look like any of the villains in previous period films. Look very sophisticated, look desirable, yet look dangerous. So I think that was most fun. And also Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, because that's a character which we've all grown up with history, but it's been very, very caricatured and always looks a little gaudy and like it's come out of a piece of theatre rather than history. And I think a lot of people felt like this character looked closest to what the original Shivaji Maharaj would have looked like.
Okay, when Nachiket is not designing, he is?
He is dreaming away. See you, Nelson.
See you, Nachiket. Thank you so much.